After watching Squid Game Season 3 39 times, I still can't find anything positive to say about the show. It was honestly just a total flop. From the world's most useless detective to completely random finalists, today I'll break down exactly why. When creator Hwang Dong-hyuk announced that Season 3 would be the darkest season ever, I don't think he meant it would leave us completely in the dark about everything we cared about. Yet here we are, staring at what might be one of the most unsatisfying conclusions in recent television history. The problems began long before the season even aired, with Netflix's marketing strategy actively undermining my viewing experience. The promotional campaign revealed far too much crucial information, essentially spoiling major plot points months in advance. Consider the fifth game reveal. The main trailer explicitly showed us that jump rope would be the penultimate challenge. Meanwhile, during the maze game, we've watched Junhee suffer a severe ankle fracture. The math here wasn't difficult for any of us to figure out. A character who can barely walk faces a game requiring athletic jumping ability. The outcome became painfully obvious to me. This represents a broader issue with how streaming platforms approach marketing versus storytelling. The desire to generate buzz through exciting trailer moments directly conflicts with the narrative tension that makes those moments impactful. When we can predict major character deaths episodes in advance, the emotional weight of those scenes diminishes significantly. Netflix's approach treated the show more like a product to be marketed than a story to be told. And this marketing-first mentality appears to have influenced the creative process itself. But the marketing problems pale in comparison to what happened to the characters we spent 2 seasons getting to know. Perhaps the most devastating aspect of Season 3 for me lies in its treatment of established characters. After spending Season 2 carefully developing complex relationships and backstories, the final season systematically dismantled these characters in ways that felt both rushed and meaningless. Take Minsu's transformation into a drug addict, a plot development that arrives without proper setup or exploration. His addiction storyline feels like a checkbox rather than a meaningful character journey. Similarly, Myunggi's evolution into what I can only describe as a full-blown psychopath lacks the gradual progression that would make such a dramatic personality shift believable. These aren't character developments to me, they're character assassinations. But the most frustrating example, in my opinion, might be Gi-hun himself. Our protagonist, who carried the emotional weight of the entire series, becomes reduced to what I can only describe as an NPC in his own story. During crucial moments, particularly in the final game, I watched Gi-hun simply sit passively, scowling at other players rather than demonstrating the moral leadership I've come to expect from him. It's as if the writers forgot what made him compelling in the first place. Daeho's character arc exemplifies this problem perfectly. Here was a figure who generated genuine debate among the fanbase. The fandom was split on his true nature and motivations along with other viewers. The mystery surrounding his background created natural dramatic tension. So what was the big revelation? He was simply a fraud who never served in the Marines and just wanted to be cool. That's it. All that complexity, all that fan speculation I participated in reduced to a throwaway explanation delivered in 2 minutes. While this twist serves the narrative function of highlighting Gi-hun's compromised moral compass, it wastes the character's dramatic potential entirely. I can think of alternative approaches that were available. Daeho could have been a genuine veteran struggling with PTSD, making his violent tendencies more complex and tragic. Or perhaps someone whose lies stemmed from deeper psychological trauma. Instead, I got a surface-level explanation that diminishes rather than illuminates his character. The one character death that genuinely caught me off guard was player 149, Yong Gum-ja, killing her own son. I never would have expected that in a million years, and honestly, I still don't know how to feel about it. Killing your own child just to save a random woman seems extremely extreme, but I can't deny the shock factor was real for me. However, even this moment gets undermined by Hwang's broken promise not to recycle themes from Season 1. The mother and son duo gave off the exact same vibe as the husband and wife players from the original season, and they ended the same way. Despite interviews where Hwang said he wouldn't repeat the same themes, That's exactly what he did. This recycling problem extends throughout the season, most obviously in the final knife fight between Gi-hun and Myung-gi, which directly mirrors the Season 1 finale's confrontation between Gi-hun and Song-woo. Even specific details repeat, like Gi-hun wrapping his vest around his arm while his opponent wielded the blade. While callbacks can be effective storytelling tools, these feel more like creative shortcuts than meaningful parallels to me. Myung-gi clearly fills the Song-woo role as the intelligent, calculating player who gradually reveals his ruthless nature, but the parallel needed more development to feel fresh rather than repetitive. Speaking of Myung-gi, his complete character breakdown represents another wasted opportunity to me. He was portrayed as this calculated, intelligent guy throughout most of the season, and then he just completely falls apart at the end, becoming a true monster who would threaten the life of his own baby. And he was incredibly stupid about it too. Why didn't he wait to attack the other players once they reached the final stage? Why didn't he wait until the bridge was fully withdrawn before going after the baby? His decision-making in those final moments contradicted everything I'd learned about his supposedly strategic mind. The games themselves showcase another area where Season 3 prioritizes spectacle over meaningful storytelling. The fifth game, Jump Rope, pales in comparison to Season 1's glass bridge sequence, which masterfully combines psychological tension with visual drama. Where the glass bridge forced players to make calculated risks while revealing character traits under pressure, the Jump Rope game offers little beyond basic physical challenge. The only memorable moment involves player 096 pushing other contestants, a brief spark of the psychological complexity that I loved about earlier games. The tonal choices make matters even worse in my opinion. The addition of goofy music during this high-stakes moment undermines the tension that should define these life-or-death scenarios. When 8 players survive what should be a decimating challenge, the game loses its sense of consequence and danger for me. This reflects a broader shift in how the show approaches its central concept. The original games worked because they combined childhood nostalgia with adult terror, creating cognitive dissonance that made me uncomfortable. Season 3's games feel more like standard action sequences, lacking the psychological depth that made the concept compelling. But not only the games felt that way, but the VIPs did as well. These supposed puppet masters behind the games lack the menacing presence of their Season 1 counterparts. Whether due to voice acting, dialogue quality, or directorial choices, they come across as ineffective rather than threatening to me. This matters because the VIPs represent the systematic evil that drives the games. When they lack gravitas, the entire moral framework of the show becomes less compelling. The contrast with Season 1 is very obvious to me. Those earlier VIPs radiated an aura of untouchable wealth and casual cruelty that made them genuinely unsettling. Season 3's versions deliver their lines without conviction, making scenes that should be chilling feel merely awkward. They felt like a bunch of clowns rather than some of the most powerful and influential people in the world. One other pale comparison to Season 1 was the big Inho reveal and that final conversation between him and Gi-hun. In Season 1, when Gi-hun found out that player 001, Oh Il-nam, was the game creator all along, that reveal and their conversation had purpose. It felt real and sad to me. In Season 3, they tried doing the exact same thing. It was supposed to be the biggest reveal in the entire Squid Game saga, and it ended up being a complete letdown from what I'd once seen in Season 1. Hwang said the actors gave an impeccable performance, and that this scene would be one of the best we've seen on television. I was expecting so much more than that brief, surface-level exchange. It was too short and barely meant anything to me. The conversation they had lacked depth, since it was just Inho giving Gi-hun the choice to kill the other finalists. Speaking of the finalists, the final vote scenario creates some of the season's most psychologically complex moments, even if the execution isn't perfect. Player 222's revelation as a newborn creates a genuine moral dilemma. I understand why they made the baby player 222 to manipulate emotions and stir conflict, and I'm in no position to judge the player's reactions, because the mental stress they were under must have been unimaginable. Imagine you survive a deadly competition only to find out you're splitting the prize with a newborn? Yeah, that would upset me too. Even with the baby counted as a full player, they'd still walk away with around 5 billion won each, which is still a life-changing amount. Why risk your life all over again? Then again, their actions, while frustrating to me, are understandable, and as Inho predicted, it's human nature, and that nature is further emphasized during the last game. Speaking of it, the final game presents an interesting concept, forcing players to work together while maintaining individual stakes, but suffers from execution problems rooted in character investment. The idea of examining human nature under extreme pressure aligns perfectly with the show's themes. That allowed us to see players turning on each other, fear driving desperate decisions, and the emergence of both heroism and villainy. Player 039's decision to take his own life rather than participate in the violence represents one of the season's strongest character moments for me. His choice exposes Myung-gi's true nature while maintaining his own dignity. Exactly the kind of moral complexity I think the show handles best. However, the game's impact gets diminished by the presence of too many underdeveloped characters. The problem with throwing in all these extra characters for the final game is that I'm not connected to them, nor was the whole fandom. Their deaths meant absolutely nothing to anyone because we barely knew who they were. The only one who had any real screen time was player 100, and honestly, I'm shocked he made it that far considering how I expected him to die during the rope game. When players we barely know make crucial decisions, their choices lack emotional weight. I need investment in characters for their actions to matter dramatically. Just imagine if we had Gumja, Yongsik, Hyunju, Namgyu, Myung-gi, Junhee, and Gi-hun in that final match instead. We all knew their backstories, we cared about them, and their actions would have carried real weight. Instead, they killed most of the core characters during the fourth game, leaving the rest of the series to be filled with people we didn't really care about. The only amazing thing about that final game was Gi-hun's sacrifice, which reinforces the show's themes effectively, honoring his promise to Junhee of protecting her baby until the end, and with it, proving In-ho's cynical philosophy wrong. That not all humans are cruel, selfish beings, that there's still hope. His death had so much depth and symbolism, life born from death, hope triumphing over despair. It even affected the VIPs who not only looked shocked, but even a little sad, allowing me to see a faint glimpse of their humanity as Gi-hun delivered his last few words. The system ended with him. With 13 total episodes across seasons 2 and 3, this conclusion had ample time to develop its ideas properly. Instead, crucial elements feel rushed, while less important subplots receive excessive attention. Junho's journey to find the island, which spans multiple episodes, represented one of the season's greatest missed opportunities for me. The resolution of his storyline with his brother In-ho feels criminally brief. The conversation we waited years to see gets wrapped up in roughly 60 seconds, with barely any meaningful dialogue between the brothers. He literally spent 2 entire seasons just trying to reach the island, only to accomplish absolutely nothing once he got there. Meanwhile, complex character relationships and moral dilemmas get resolved with minimal exploration. The balance between action sequences and character development tilts heavily towards spectacle, leaving me unsatisfied with the emotional payoffs I expected. This pacing issue reflects a common problem in modern television: the assumption that more episodes automatically means better storytelling. Without proper structure and focus, additional runtime can actually harm narrative effectiveness. Nothing had enough consistency or depth to really make me feel invested. None of the characters' stories were explored deeply enough. It all felt surface level to me. Despite these overwhelming problems, Season 3 does achieve some effective moments that remind me of the show's potential. Choi Woo's intelligence in identifying Captain Park as a traitor demonstrates the kind of character-driven problem-solving that I find compelling about the show. His deductive abilities feel earned rather than convenient, showing that the writers still understood how to create smart, observant characters when they focused on it. But what really stood out to me was No Yule's character arc, which provides one of the season's most satisfying elements in my opinion. Her final scene, witnessing Gi-hun's sacrifice and finding renewed hope, delivers genuine emotional impact. Just when she was ready to give up and kill herself, she saw Gi-hun's sacrifice and realized there was still hope. That moment actually hit me emotionally because it felt earned through her journey. Her storyline about searching for her lost daughter offers a thread of optimism in an otherwise bleak narrative. The revelation of player 246's survival and reunion with his recovered daughter provides another bright spot. These smaller human-scale victories feel more meaningful to me than the larger dramatic moments, because they stem from character investment rather than plot mechanics. Even In-ho's visit to Gi-hun's daughter works well, showing how complicated grief can be. Even if it seemed like she hated her father, Her reaction once she knew he had passed away changed her entire character and left her confused. Her conflicted reaction, moving from hatred to confusion to loss, feels psychologically authentic. The final scene's transition to an American setting feels less like a satisfying conclusion than an advertisement for future content to me. While the concept of the games spreading globally makes thematic sense, the execution prioritizes franchise expansion over narrative closure. The whole ending felt like one giant advertisement for the upcoming American spin-off. Overall, Squid Game Season 3 represents a profound disappointment to me, not because it's technically incompetent, but because it wastes the potential established by its predecessors. The building blocks for a satisfying conclusion existed. Complex characters, compelling themes, and a devoted audience like me. Instead, I received a conclusion that prioritizes commercial considerations over storytelling integrity. Characters I cared about get reduced to plot devices. Mysteries that generate genuine interest receive superficial explanations. Games that should terrify instead feel routine to me. The tragedy isn't that Season 3 is unwatchable. It's that glimpses of excellence shine through, reminding me of what could have been achieved with different creative choices. No Yule's hope, Player 039's dignity, and Gi-hun's amazing sacrifice and line delivery are moments of genuine human connection that prove the show still possessed the capacity for meaningful storytelling.